I'm a man, yet I was forced to marry the regent. On our wedding night, the moment he lifted the red bridal veil, I lunged at him with a dagger, scratching his face in an instant. But instead of getting angry, he just laughed. I like it when my wife is so wild. Me? I'm a man, for heaven's sake. Wife? What? You want to marry me off to Tristan Elwood? He's a man. Father, surely this is a joke? I stared at my father in utter disbelief. He sat on the main seat, his expression devoid of warmth, cold and entirely foreign. Did the man before me even deserve to be called my father? I had always known him to be insatiably greedy, focused only on climbing the social ladder and getting rich. But I never imagined he could be so outrageous. Besides, I was a 7-foot man. I should be out making a name for myself first. I've spent my life studying the classics, devoted to the ideal of establishing a heart for the universe and a destiny for the people. My stepmother sneered coldly. You truly don't know what's good for you. Don't you know that the capital is full of noble young women yearning to be the regent prince's consort? Yet Tristan Elwood dismissed them all and chose you, she spat out. And you dare to refuse? If it weren't for that passable face of yours, you wouldn't even qualify to marry into the Elwood estate. I couldn't stand to hear another word. I flung my sleeve and turned to leave. Stop talking. As a man of honor, Oliver Shen will never marry another man. It was then that several servants rushed in, grabbing me without explanation and tying me up. My father slapped me directly across the face. You unfilial wretch. Listen to me. You will marry him, whether you want to or not, he roared. I've raised you all these years. Is this how you repay me? Men, lock him in his room. Keep him there until the wedding. A month later, I finally found myself seated in a bridal sedan chair, dressed in wedding silks, a man being married as a wife. I had tried to run away at first, but father threatened the life of my younger sister. We were both born of the concubine mother, and ever since her death, we had only had each other in the Shen household. If I didn't go through with the marriage, father vowed to marry her off to the old widower in the eastern quarter. As her older brother, how could I stand by and watch her fall into that hell? I had no choice but to agree to the wedding. I would marry him, but if Tristan Elwood genuinely tried to lay a hand on me, I swore I wouldn't hold back. Truthfully, I still couldn't wrap my head around it. Why would Tristan Elwood choose me, a man, to be his consort? I had seen Tristan Elwood a few times. He was the all-powerful regent prince, a man second only to the emperor, with unmatched authority and influence over the court. When the late emperor passed away, the crown prince was only 7, so he appointed his younger brother, Tristan Elwood, to act as regent and assist in governing until the new emperor came of age. 10 years had passed, and the court was now practically his domain. The young emperor was a mere figurehead. My stepmother was right. In this vast capital, was there a single noble family that didn't want to marry their daughter to him? Marrying the regent prince meant guaranteed prestige and power for the entire clan. Yet, strangely, Tristan Elwood remained unmoved. Every beauty sent to him was politely and safely returned. The nobles took the hint and began sending him handsome young male pages instead. He still refused to keep a single one. Everyone finally understood. The regent prince simply had no interest in physical beauty. Until now. Now Tristan Elwood had specifically demanded that I, a man, marry him as his wife. I was utterly bewildered. What exactly was he plotting? Before the gates of the regent's mansion, a crimson carpet unfurled for miles, stretching all the way beyond Ellensworth's city walls. After all, it was Tristan Elwood's wedding. Nearly the entire capital had come to witness the spectacle. I never thought the regent would actually marry a man. Truly, the world holds every kind of wonder. You know nothing. That young Master Oliver, he's more beautiful than half the women in Ellensworth. If it were me, I'd... Ha ha! That's true. He is the #1 gentleman of the capital. Though born of a concubine, his looks are unmatched, his talent remarkable. Only someone so ethereal could be worthy of the regent himself. Their words stung my ears. My hands clenched into fists inside my sleeves. I, Oliver Shen, once praised as the foremost gentleman of the city, now reduced to the butt of the crowd's laughter. It was laughable indeed. And so, with Tristan leading me through the rites, I was finally escorted into the bridal chamber. The season was early spring, yet the night air bit with cold. My palms, slick with sweat, tightened around the dagger hidden beneath my sleeve. If Tristan Elwood dared to lay a hand on me, then so be it. I would fight him to the death. The door creaked open. Polished black boots stepped into my view. My heart gave a violent tremor. I couldn't see his face. The phoenix-embroidered veil shrouded me in red haze. And then, the veil was lifted. I found myself staring straight into a pair of sharp, commanding eyes. Beneath the glow of red candles, Tristan stood in his vermilion wedding robes, his figure tall, his features too flawless to belong to any mortal man. He looked like a deity who had walked into this world. And he smiled, an arched brow, a slow survey of me from head to toe. Then he raised a hand, reaching for my face. I struck first. With a snarl, I drove the dagger toward him. He flinched at the suddenness, yet in the same breath, his fingers snapped against the blade. Steel rang. The dagger slipped from my grasp, grazing his cheek as it clattered to the ground. A thin line of blood marked his skin. He lifted his hand, touched the wound, and when his fingers came away red, his smile only deepened. "The princess consort is so wild," he murmured, amused. "I like it." The word consort nearly made me choke. Consort? I'm a man, damn it! Rage burned through me as I glared at him. "Tristan Elwood, why in hell did you choose me? We're both men. If you've gone mad, then see a physician. Others may cower before you, but I'm not afraid. If you dare touch me, I bared my teeth. "I'll make sure you'll never be a man again." His laughter rang, low and unhurried, as if I'd just entertained him. "So the rumors were wrong," he mused. "I had heard you were gentle, refined, a true gentleman. Yet here you are, spitting curses. Who would have thought?" He tilted his head, studying me with interest. "But I must say, you're rather cute when you're fierce." "Cute?" My fury exploded. "Cute, my ass! I'm a man, Tristan." "So what?" His answer was simple, careless. I opened my mouth to snap back, but froze. Because Tristan was untying his robes. My eyes widened. "What are you doing?" Panic surged. I brandished empty threats. "Don't come near me. I mean it. I'll do it." But he didn't come closer. Instead, he climbed onto the bed, lay back in full robes, and shut his eyes. Moments later, the sound of steady snores filled the chamber. I stared, dumbstruck. What was this supposed to mean? The day's exhaustion weighed heavy on me. Though I tried to resist, fearing he was pretending, fatigue drowned my thoughts. Before long, my body surrendered to sleep. And so I never noticed. The man beside me opening his eyes. Never saw how Tristan's gaze lingered, dark and unreadable, on my face, nor the faint smile that curled at his lips. When I woke the next morning, Tristan Elwood was already gone. I cautiously checked my clothes, and only after confirming they were perfectly intact did I let out a long sigh of relief. Steward Wang entered from outside, followed by several maids who presented washing and grooming items one by one. He bowed to me. "Prince Consort, breakfast is ready. Please enjoy it shortly. Also, the prince knows you enjoy reading, so he instructed this servant to inform you that you may freely use his study whenever you wish." As the maids began to approach, I suddenly felt unbearably awkward. Though I was once hailed as the foremost young noble for both looks and talent, my life at the vice minister's residence had never been glorious. My concubine mother had originally been a courtesan. After a fleeting night of passion with my father, she became pregnant with me and was later taken in as a concubine. The legitimate wife regarded her as a thorn in her side and tormented her daily. Not long after giving birth to my younger sister, my mother could no longer endure the cruelty and passed away. From then on, I was treated no better than a servant in the Shen household. I ate scraps, wore hand-me-downs, and endured endless humiliation. If not for the literary talent my father prized in me from a young age, I might have followed my mother to the grave. When had I ever truly been treated like the young master of a prestigious family? Having servants wait on me now felt unbearably unnatural. Steward Wang smiled. "Please don't be reserved, Prince Consort. You are the mistress of this estate. This is only your due." I couldn't stand it anymore. "Then stop calling me Prince Consort. It makes my skin crawl." To my surprise, Steward Wang immediately nodded. "Very well, Prince Consort." Once again, I nearly spat blood. After breakfast, I was about to head toward the study when a young woman suddenly rushed over. Her face was exquisitely beautiful, and she carried herself with a noble air. Steward Wang immediately bowed. "This servant greets the princess." I instantly understood. This was Tristan Elwood's younger sister, Princess Chaohua, Chloe. Her eyes widened as she stared at me, astonishment lighting those beautiful pupils. "Are you my second sister-in-law? What a handsome, magnificent man. You're even lovelier than a young lady." "I heard second brother actually allowed you into his study." Heaven knows he never lets anyone else in there. Second sister-in-law. Heavens above. Not that again. And really, what's so special about a study anyway? But she was a delicate, lovely beauty, so I swallowed the urge to snap at her. Instead, I forced a smile. Princess, you can just call me Oliver. For some reason, her face flushed slightly, making her features even more radiant and captivating. Just then, a figure suddenly appeared and wrapped an arm around my waist. I stumbled straight into an embrace. I didn't need to guess who it was. Tristan Elwood, what exactly are you trying to do? Two grown men hugging in broad daylight. My reputation for propriety was utterly ruined. I'd rather die. To make matters worse, he was taller than me, so my head rested right against his chest. I looked exactly like some small, shy, dependent woman. Sure enough, Chloe giggled and hurried away. Well, I won't interrupt you two. Carry on. Even Steward Wong's aged face flushed red before he wisely retreated. I tried to struggle free and explain, but Tristan only hugged me tighter, nearly squeezing the air out of my lungs. Furious, I gave him a hard kick, which finally forced him to let go. Tristan Elwood, you've gone too far. He looked completely unperturbed. You are my prince consort. I can do as I please. You. I was utterly silenced. I turned to leave, but he caught my hand again and raised an eyebrow. Don't you want to see Mr. Nanlin's Shu Jinyuan scroll? I heard it's the calligraphy model you've been looking for all this time. Are you truly not interested? Really? How did you find it? Is it the genuine work? Perhaps I was too excited. So excited, in fact, that I completely forgot my hand was still being firmly held in his. The study was different from the rest of the palace's gilt splendor. It had its own quiet, refined charm. A brazier burned steadily in the center of the room. In a pale glazed vase, a single branch of red plum stood, filling the air with fragrance. A long desk dominated the space. Piles of memorials lay stacked to the left. To the right sat a book. The very copybook I had been itching to read, the Shuijin Yuan manual. I could hardly wait to sit down and begin, but as I moved to open it, I felt someone settle beside me. Tristan Elwood had taken the seat next to mine. For a moment I froze. He only smiled and, teasingly, almost, asked, "Isn't the princess consort going to read?" Then he ignored me and began examining the memorials in front of him. Strangely enough, I could usually lose myself in a book and hear nothing of the world outside. But now, no matter how I tried, my mind refused to calm. Even the treasured copybook failed to hold my interest. My eyes kept drifting, without meaning to him. What was happening to me? I couldn't deny that Tristan was difficult to look away from when he was absorbed in work. His usually stern face carried an intensity and stillness that pulled at me. When he frowned in concentration over some difficult point, I found myself frowning too. Suddenly he turned his head. Our eyes met, awkward, electric. He curved his lips. "Princess consort, are you secretly staring at me?" "What? Have you fallen for your husband?" I nearly had a fit. "Another husband, for heaven's sake," I blurted. "Can we please not use princess consort and husband? We're both men, you know." He paused, considering for a moment, then winked. "Fine. I'll call you Elias. You can call me brother. How about that?" Elias was my courtesy name. Being called that didn't feel wrong. As for brother, I had comrades I called brothers casually enough, but calling Tristan brother felt strangely intimate, and I found it embarrassing to say aloud. I stammered instead. "Right. Why marry me in the first place?" He leaned in until he was only a few inches from me and stopped. There was a softness in his eyes that felt like it might melt me. "Elias," he said, "because my heart is taken with you." The words stunned me. I didn't know how to answer. My heart began to race. He smiled and, as if to ease the moment, pushed a stack of scrolls toward me. "If you have nothing else to do, copy these for me. Your handwriting is famous throughout the capital. Let me see it." I almost refused. I was a commoner. I had no right to be involved in government affairs. But he said calmly, "You are now of the regent's household. You should learn. Besides, isn't your ambition to earn a proper post?" I was stunned again. He always seemed to know what I was thinking. Indeed, I had long wanted to enter officialdom. It wasn't only for the love of books. It was a way out of the Shen household. I hated the Shens for what they had done to my mother, for the cruelty they'd shown me and my little sister. Only by succeeding could I drag my sister out of that life, lift her burden, and protect her forever. So I agreed to copy the documents. Somehow, Tristan looked pleasing to me. I found his gaze falling on me more often than not, sometimes deliberately, sometimes by chance. Over time, I got used to it. When he didn't look, I even found myself missing it. I was shocked by how much I had changed. Lost in my thoughts, he took my hand, his eyes fixed on mine. Elias, when we return for the homecoming visit in a couple of days, I will speak for you. No one will dare bully you again. My heart pounded like a drum at his words. In that moment, I forgot to pull my hand away. The gates of the Shen estate loomed before us. As Tristan Elwood and I stepped down from the carriage, I saw my father already waiting, his posture bent low in servile deference. His face was full of obsequious smiles. "Your Grace, this humble official greets you. It is my greatest." But Tristan didn't so much as spare him a glance. He strode past as if the man were nothing more than empty air. The color drained from my father's face, leaving it twisted and sour. I, on the other hand, felt a rare flicker of satisfaction. Inside the main hall, Tristan seated himself at the head of the chamber. My father tried to pull me aside, no doubt eager to pry for news, but Tristan cut him off smoothly. "Elias hasn't seen his sister in far too long. They must have much to say to each other. Go on." The words struck me with unexpected warmth. Gratitude swelled in my chest. My father looked as if he wanted to protest, but a single glance from Tristan left him frozen, his tongue tied. In the small west courtyard, my little sister rushed into my arms. She clung to me, sobbing, tears soaking my shoulder. I held her tightly. We spoke for a long while, whispers of comfort, fragments of hope, until the hour grew late and I was forced, unwillingly, to part from her. On my way back toward the hall, I paused. Voices carried clearly from within. "Shen Kongshu," Tristan's voice cut sharp as steel. "That matter of you once trying to offer Elias to Lord Jin, I can let that pass. But if you ever again attempt to use him, I will kill you on the spot. Do you understand me?" Yes, your Grace. I would never dare again." My father's voice shook. "As for Elias's sister, she will be taken into my care as well, and as for Elias's mother." Tristan's tone lowered, deliberate, merciless. "Madam Shen, you are the one who drove her to her death, a life for a life, but for the sake of your years you will take 30 strokes of the rod instead." "Mercy, your Grace. Spare me. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please forgive me." My stepmother's cries turned to shrieks as the guards dragged her away. Her wailing, ragged and pitiful, echoed through every corner of the Shen estate. Tristan's voice carried on, cold as winter ice. "When Elias was a boy, he was pushed into the frozen lake. He nearly lost the use of his legs. Shen Seekin, then let your legs pay that debt." There was a heavy thud. My father's voice cracked in desperation. "Your Grace, I beg of you, Seekin is the heir of our family. Without his legs, how will he ever face the world?" Tristan's fury snapped like a whip. "So you care more for saving face than for a son's life?" At last my father collapsed into a kowtow, trembling. "This humble official understands." From the doorway I listened, my heart a storm of disappointment and gratitude. So it was true. My father had raised me not out of love, but only to trade me away like coin. That Lord Jin, the Minister of Rights, infamous for his countless concubines and servants, none of whom had ever survived his cruelty. My father had been ready to feed me into that wolf's jaws, all for favor. And Tristan had married me only to snatch me from that fate. It was he who saved me, he who stood for me, he who avenged me, wrong by wrong, cruelty by cruelty. My eyes burned. Men aren't supposed to weep easily, yet the tears came, hot and unstoppable. All this time I had misunderstood him. When Tristan finally emerged, he caught sight of me standing there, tears glimmering in my eyes. A faint smile touched his lips. He reached out, gently wiping my tears away. Then he took my hand in his, firm and steady. "Come," he said softly. "Let's go home." On the way back, I was about to tell him how grateful I was when the carriage jolted to a sudden stop. Then the sounds of fighting erupted around us. "Your Grace, there are assassins!" someone shouted. I had never seen anything like it. Fear stabbed straight through me. Tristan Elwood grabbed my hand, his face set with iron. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." The carriage roof was flung open. The manor guards were locked in brutal combat with masked attackers. Then, without warning, a volley of sharp arrows rained down from above. Tristan threw himself in front of me and drew his sword, trying to shield me. But there were too many arrows, too many to fend off. In moments, shafts of black-feathered steel had pierced his shoulder and his leg. Blood bloomed across his robes, bright as flame. He bit back the pain, refusing to fall. His eyes were raw and furious. He pressed himself between me and danger with a ferocity that made my breath stop. "Elias," he said, through clenched teeth. "I won't let anything happen to you." My eyes burned again. What a fool he was. The assassins were cut down one by one, but the effort broke him. As the last of the attackers fell, Tristan could no longer hold himself up. He pitched forward and collapsed. I screamed, a raw, tearing sound. "Someone! Help me!" My voice split the air. By the time the palace physicians arrived, Tristan was slipping into unconsciousness. Bowls of blood were carried from the room one after another. The sight of it twisted my gut. I waited outside the door, feeling as though 1,000 beasts gnawed at my chest. I could not breathe. I could not bear the thought of him dying. I wanted him to live. I wanted him whole. The imperial physician finally emerged, letting out a heavy sigh. The arrows were poisoned, and the poison has entered his vital organs. While I have temporarily controlled it with medicine, whether His Highness survives this crisis will depend on his own resilience. If he can make it through tonight, there is hope. Hope. The word was a fragile thing. I pushed the door open and walked, step by slow step, toward him. Lying on the bed, Tristan Elwood was deathly pale, his breath shallow. Where was the vibrant, spirited man he had been just hours before? Regret slammed into me. I had not thanked him properly. I had not been kinder to him. I had not shown him enough. The steward brought in the decoction the physician had prepared. I insisted on feeding it to him myself. A spoonful at a time, I tipped the liquid to his lips and watched it spill out, wasted. He could not swallow. So I did the only thing I could think of. I took a mouthful of the medicine myself and pressed it against his lips, sending into his mouth with my own breath. One mouthful, then another. I kept going until the cup was empty. I gazed at him and whispered, tears blurring my vision, "Tristan Elwood, just wake up. If you come back to me, I will be your Elias. I will be your husband. I will do right by you." Half a month passed, and still, Tristan Elwood did not wake up. I spent my days feeding him medicine, applying compresses, changing his clothes, and bathing his body. I used to feel ashamed to perform such intimate acts as a man, but now I attended to every single detail tirelessly. Rumors were already flying throughout the capital. Most claimed that the Regent Prince's injuries were grave, and that he was unlikely to survive. It was widely speculated that the balance of power in the court was about to shift. Many officials, unable to contain their impatience, came to probe for information, but I blocked them all at the gate. My official statement was consistently firm. The Regent Prince's health was stable. He simply required quiet rest. But I never expected the Emperor himself to come. He was only 17, his eyes possessing the pure innocence characteristic of youth, gentle, clear, and bright. When he saw me, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he then smiled. "Imperial Aunt, you look well." I don't know why, but this time I actually found the title Imperial Aunt rather pleasant to hear. He smiled warmly. "Imperial Aunt truly has a face like flawless jade, as handsome as an orchid in bloom. Imperial Uncle is a lucky man." He paused, his expression shifting to one of sorrow. "Speaking of which, how is Imperial Uncle? I wish to see him." I led him to the room, but as he was the Emperor, I simply waited outside the door. He emerged not long after, his eyes red. He had clearly been weeping. He choked out his instructions to me. "If Imperial Uncle wakes up, Imperial Aunt must inform me immediately. I have been praying for him these past few days, hoping only that he will pull through. If he does not, I will personally observe a period of deep mourning to comfort his spirit." As I watched his retreating figure, a subtle chill crept onto my lips. Another 10 days passed. Even the imperial physician had run out of remedies. "Your Grace, it would be wise to begin preparing yourself," he whispered, trembling. "I fear the prince may never wake again." But I refused to believe it. Tristan Elwood could not die. He simply couldn't. "Utter nonsense," I snapped, my voice echoing like thunder. "If you cannot save him, I'll have your entire family buried with him." For a full month now, I had ruled the Elwood estate with an iron grip. My hands were no longer those of the gentle young master Oliver Shen had once been. The physician blanched with terror, stammered a reply, and hurried away to prepare a new prescription. As soon as he was gone, the strength left my legs. I clung to the table, forcing myself upright. Tristan Elwood would wake up. I wouldn't allow any other ending. That night, I followed my usual routine, feeding him medicine mouth to mouth, as no other way worked. When the last drop was gone, I carefully tucked his blankets around him, smoothing every crease like a prayer. I was about to leave when I saw it. His hand moved. Just barely, a twitch of a finger. My heart nearly stopped. I stared, not daring to blink. Then, unmistakably, his hand moved again, stronger this time. His lips parted, murmuring in a hoarse whisper, "Elias! Elias!" And then, at last, he opened his eyes. My tears spilled over before I could stop them. With a cry of relief, I threw myself toward him. He immediately began coughing violently. "You're going to crush me," he rasped. I scrambled back, but before I could rise fully, he pulled me against him, a crooked grin spreading across his pale face. "A grown man, crying like this! Elias, you're adorable!" "You!" Furious, I stood up, refusing to look at him. But then he clutched his wounded side, groaning loudly, and panic seized me. I rushed back, reaching to check his injury, only for him to pull me into his arms again, this time with a solemn look. "Elias, thank you. You saved my life." I knew he was faking weakness to trap me, yet I didn't push him away. I muttered darkly, "I didn't save you. Even if you survive this time, next time you'll still end up meeting the King of Hell." His arms froze around me. You know everything?" I glared at him. "How long did you plan on keeping it from me? Do you think you're immune to everything? Curses, poisons, over and over again?" A flicker of guilt crossed his face. Realizing his injuries were still fresh, I forced myself to soften, my voice low and careful. "So all of this, it was the late Emperor's doing? But weren't you brothers who shared everything? Loyal and affectionate?" I had heard fragments of Tristan Elwood's past before, whispered like old legends in the halls of Ellensworth. The late Emperor had been born of the Empress Dowager, a legitimate first son, noble from the cradle. Tristan, by contrast, was the son of a discarded concubine, living a life worse than a servant's. It had been the late Emperor who took pity on him, begging the Empress Dowager to bring Tristan into the palace and raise him by his side. They grew up together, inseparable, bound tighter than brothers, their bond said to be stronger than gold. When the Emperor ascended the throne, he elevated Tristan to the rank of Duke of Qi, bestowing on him great honor and power. And when the Emperor fell gravely ill, he entrusted the Crown Prince, just a child, to Tristan's care. Tristan raised him, sacrificing his own life to protect and guide the boy. People had once called it a story of loyalty and devotion that would echo for generations. Now, as Tristan spoke, there was a faint, bitter smile at his lips, and a strange sorrow in his voice. "In the royal family," he said quietly, "schemes and suspicion are as common as air. I was the fool who never understood. Even if he hadn't asked me, I would have served His Majesty with all my heart until he grew up. But he never trusted me." His eyes darkened. "I was given the child goo, while the Emperor carries the mother goo. Their lives are linked. If the mother dies, the child bursts and dies with it. But if the child dies, the mother remains unharmed." He gave a low, humorless laugh. He feared I might imprison the Emperor, so he put devour heart powder in my wine. Every month at the end of the moon, I suffer pain like burning knives through my bones. Only the Emperor holds the antidote. After 15 years, I am meant to die slowly, torn apart from within. 5 years remain. Yet even that was too long for him. He feared I might take a wife, have children, and threaten his power. To ease his suspicions, I took a man as my consort instead of a woman. I thought it would calm him. His voice broke on the next words. "But still he doesn't trust me. Now he wants me dead outright. Perhaps an emperor can never believe in anyone." I couldn't find my voice. A heaviness swelled in my chest until I thought it would burst. How much pain had he carried? This man who once inspired fear in everyone. Poisoned by the brother he revered. Hunted by the emperor he had raised as his own son. 2 of the closest people in his life, and both sought his death. What could be more bitter, more despairing than that? Without thinking, I reached out and wrapped my arms around him. "It's all right," I said softly. "You still have me. We'll find a way through this together." For a moment, he stiffened. Then, suddenly, a low chuckle escaped his lips. "Didn't you say you didn't want to be my consort, Elias?" he murmured. "If I die, you'll be free." I was so exasperated I wanted to scold him, but I restrained myself. Instead, I smiled. "Fine, but then I'll make sure to burn all those portraits for you as burial offerings." He froze, and his ears immediately turned bright red. You saw them?" I had discovered them by chance in his study. Pushing aside a bookshelf revealed a secret room. Inside, the walls were covered with portraits. Without a single exception, Every one of them was of me. There were paintings of me gracefully fanning myself, of me holding a brush mid-stroke, and of me playing the chin across a chessboard. All of them were painted by Tristan Elwood. Some were already yellowed with age. Attached to every single one was the same line of calligraphy: a gentleman like jade on the path, a young noble unmatched in the world. I stood there staring, my heart trembling uncontrollably. I never imagined his devotion to me ran this deep. At that moment, Steward Wang entered, letting out a sigh. "Since you've discovered them, Your Highness, I suppose I should tell you the truth. The prince has always been different from others. When he was young, he dared not let anyone know, fearing mockery. He intended to live out his life alone until he saw you. He kept this affection buried deep in his heart, never daring to show it. When the emperor became suspicious of the prince's loyalty, the prince was forced to marry you to ease the emperor's mind. But truly, the prince has been watching over you for years. Every piece of calligraphy and art you ever sold was bought by him at an exorbitant price. He also knew long ago that Vice Minister Shen intended to give you to Minister Jin. The prince had his personal feelings, of course, but he mostly wanted to prevent you from falling into that monster's hands. He knew how difficult your life was at the Shen residence, and simply wanted to bring you to his side, to protect you. Even if he were to pass away, you would still be a member of the Ellensworth household." He spoke softly, but my eyes grew heavy with tears. A wave of warmth surged through my chest. I had never conceived that someone could truly love me, and for so many years. In this life, I've owned so very little. Yet at this moment, I felt like I owned the entire world. From a young age, I experienced life's harshness: my concubine mother's early death, my father's indifference, and the coldness of the world. People only saw the talented Oliver Shen, but they never knew the loneliness and sorrow beneath the surface. Only Tristan Elwood watched me in silence, protecting me every step of the way. I had never experienced love, believing that only the affection between a man and a woman could cut so deep. Now I realized something. My heart was beating uncontrollably for a man. The root of love, once it takes hold, cannot be undone. And I knew the seed in my heart had just broken through the soil. I gazed deeply into his eyes and spoke, enunciating every single word. "Tristan Elwood, I just managed to make up my mind to be your consort, so you are not allowed to die. Do you understand?" A faint smile curved his lips as he nodded obediently. "I'll listen to everything you say, Elias." I straightened, my tone turning serious again. "Then what's your plan? The Emperor is determined to kill you. Are you just going to sit there and wait for death? Now that you're awake, there's no hiding it. I'm afraid another attempt on your life will come soon. I know you're loyal. I know you don't want the throne. But if you hesitate now, it'll be your life on the line. You don't have the luxury of choosing anymore." He fell silent and buried his head against my neck, as if the weight of his hesitation was crushing him. I didn't want to push him, but the arrow was already knocked. It had to be released. The Emperor had been controlling him with the antidote since childhood. I couldn't imagine how a 7-year-old child could harbor the seeds of murder in his heart. And as he grew older, his desire for power only intensified. How could a ruler ever allow another man to sleep soundly beneath his own roof? Over the past month, I had come to see Tristan Elwood clearly. Outsiders only saw his iron will and command over the court. But in truth, all his efforts were to pave the way for the Emperor. I'd seen the memorials he corrected. Every time the Emperor didn't understand something, Tristan patiently annotated it. Steward Wang had also told me of Tristan's hardships, how he raised the Emperor as if he were his own child. Even with his life in the Emperor's hands, he never betrayed him. The rumors were all false. From beginning to end, he had never coveted the throne. And yet his sincerity had been repaid with betrayal. I felt indignant on his behalf. He was kind, upright, loyal, and grateful. He didn't deserve this. He had helped me avenge my mother. Now I should help him strategize for his survival. "Don't worry," I said firmly. "I'll help you ascend the throne. I'll be your strategist. As for the antidote, I'll send people to search for it. The world is vast. There must be a way to break your poison. Tristan Elwood, I won't allow you to die." He didn't speak for a long time. Then at last he raised his head, resolve shining in his eyes. "All right, from now on, I'll have only you." Sure enough, the news of Tristan Elwood's recovery reached the Emperor's ears. The assassinations started coming in a steady stream. However, I was prepared. The estate's defenses were watertight, and the assassins arrived but never left. The imperial examinations were underway, and I took the exam, easily topping the list. During the final palace exam, the emperor himself personally wrote first rank top scholar on my paper. He then kept me behind, alone. He walked toward me, a sharp, penetrating glint now visible in his eyes. Oliver, your essay is exquisitely worded, and your critique of current affairs is incisive. You are truly a rare and brilliant talent. This time, he used my given name. He then leaned in, his lips close to my ear, his movements entirely too familiar. Oliver, be with me, will you? Everything he can give you, I can give you too. I immediately took a step back, my posture as straight as a pine, my expression utterly calm. This official thanks His Majesty for his profound regard. I will dedicate my complete loyalty to the court. He stared at me, struggling to suppress his mounting fury. You know I don't mean that. I want your loyalty to me. I will make you the Prime Minister, and you will get everything you desire. I remained silent. He erupted in anger, his facade finally crumbling. He won't live much longer. Are you actually planning to die alongside him? I lowered my eyes, answering calmly. This official already has a family. Naturally, I stand with my family. He was practically spitting the words out. I'll give you time to consider. You will regret this. I had just been appointed as a 6th-rank scholar at the Hanlon Academy. As the newly crowned top scholar and someone from the regent's household, my status soared overnight. Everyone wanted a piece of me. Under Tristan Elwood's guidance, I quickly mastered the art of court politics. Countless officials tried to curry favor, and I welcomed them all with polite detachment. The court's atmosphere was already tense, but the emperor's foundation was still weak. He simply lacked the power to compete with the regent's faction, until he allied himself with the late Empress Dowager's powerful family. The Redgrave clan had been aristocrats for over 100 years, holding vast influence in the southern lands of Weiwei. The emperor married the Redgrave family's eldest daughter, making her empress, then appointed her father as Grand Tutor, and promoted several younger Redgrave relatives. That day, I had just stepped out of the Hanlon Academy when someone delivered a letter inviting me to the Jufeng Pavilion. I thought nothing of it, assuming it was yet another person trying to win my favor. But as soon as I entered the private room, I caught sight of a familiar figure. Tears glimmered in her eyes like rain on pear blossoms. Delicate, pitiful, heartbreakingly beautiful. The moment she saw me, she rushed straight into my arms. Oliver, I thought I'd never see you again. I hadn't expected to see Jenny. We'd known each other since childhood, but I had always treated her as a younger sister, never anything more. Like my own little sister, her life at home had been difficult and full of mistreatment. I once promised to help her escape her suffering, but her father had despised my status as a concubine's son. In the end, he had her married off as a concubine to the heir of the prince of Linnan's household. We hadn't seen each other since. Now, on instinct, I pushed her away. Her brows knitted in a fragile frown. Oliver, it's me. Don't you like me anymore? Before I could explain, she clung to me desperately. Oliver, I don't want to stay there anymore. The heir treats me like I'm nothing. He beats and scolds me every day. My whole body is covered in bruises. Oliver, I want to be with you. If you just help the emperor, he'll grant us marriage. Didn't you once say you'd protect me? As she spoke, she pressed herself closer, even tearing at her own clothes. Seeing her bare shoulder about to be exposed, I quickly turned my back. Jenny, I already have a family. Please don't do this. I'll help you escape the Prince of Linnan's household. Trust me. She stared at me in disbelief, her tone turning sharp. You don't want to be with me? Oliver, are you really planning to spend your life with a man? Do you think your mother would approve? Do you want the Shen family line to end with you? At those words, everything became clear. I no longer wanted to entangle myself with her. Who sent you here today? The Prince of Linnan's heir? Has he already thrown in with the Emperor? Tell him this. Having his own woman beg another man is truly pathetic. Her mask cracked at last. Don't you dare insult him. Oliver Shen, you're disgusting. Letting yourself be used by a man. I regret coming here today. She stormed out, tearing her clothes as she went, clearly preparing to accuse me of impropriety. But before she could leave, a group of people seized her, gagging her before she could speak. It was Tristan Elwood himself. I felt both relieved and amused. This man truly adorable. How did you end up here? Were you spying on me? You don't trust me? His ears flushed red, but he still argued. I was just worried the Prince of Linnan's household would try something against you. so I came in time. I deliberately hooked my little finger around his. Feel better now? He grabbed my hand and didn't let go, grinning. Elias, let's go home. Perhaps it was the failure of Song Jenny's attempt to seduce me, but the Emperor was furious. Within days, he found an excuse to strip my father of his position as Vice Minister of Rights. All the family's assets were confiscated. He thought he was seizing an opportunity for revenge, but little did he know how gleeful I was. The Shen family residents now had absolutely no claim over me. My father and stepmother came to the Ellensworth estate to beg for my help, but I refused to see them. My stepmother stood at the gates, loudly cursing me for being heartless and refusing to save them. It was said that my father returned home gravely ill and was confined to bed. That same day, rumors spread that the new top scholar was unfilial and merciless. I only smiled faintly when I heard the gossip. The following day, a different piece of news took the capital by storm. It was reported that Madame Shen was caught red-handed by Shen Kongshu as she tried to flee with her jewels and a secret lover. Even more shocking, it was revealed that the Shen family's legitimate son was not his blood relative. Shen Kongshu immediately picked up a rock and beat his wife to death. The legitimate son was left barely alive. The scandal was so devastating and shocking that no one in the capital remembered the petty rumors about the concubine's son anymore. Tristan Elwood pulled me into his embrace. Elias, your methods are becoming more and more like mine. Actually, you should have left these messy matters to me. You should remain the pure, snow-white gentleman Oliver. I smiled, resting my head against his chest. No, they weren't worth your effort. They were too dirty. The political struggle in court escalated, with the two factions locked in an uncompromising stalemate. Unexpectedly, 2 months later, the Rongdi tribe suddenly launched an attack. They constantly harassed the small cities along the border, pillaging, burning, and causing immense suffering to the common people. This was highly unusual, as our dynasty and the Rongdi had maintained peace for years. Their sudden invasion was deeply suspicious. Regardless, the Rongdi's actions were an unforgivable provocation. In the Golden Hall, Tristan Elwood strongly advised the Emperor, "Our great nation possesses immense military strength. Our dignity cannot be insulted, and our territory cannot be occupied. This is merely the Rongdi. I implore your majesty to issue an immediate decree to expand our borders and strike straight at their heart." Grand Tutor Redgrave, however, voiced a contradictory opinion. "The regent prince speaks unwisely. Once war begins, life will be extinguished, and the people will suffer unbearably. Our citizens will be tormented by the fires of battle, leading to displacement and broken families." This official has learned that the Rongdi have suffered heavy snows in recent months, causing mass deaths of livestock from freezing and starvation. That is why they are raiding the border towns. I propose we prioritize peace. Let us negotiate terms with the Rongdi, trading our grain and cloth for their cattle, horses, and furs. This proposition was nothing short of a national humiliation, yet the Emperor immediately agreed. The Grand Tutor is brilliant. While the Rongdi are certainly vile, the safety of our citizens is paramount. I have decided we shall negotiate peace with the Rongdi. Exiting the hall, I could only feel that something was deeply amiss. Grand Tutor Redgrave and the Emperor's reaction is all wrong. Tristan Elwood's brow remained deeply furrowed. You noticed it too? I fear this is a conspiracy. We must begin to deploy our defenses immediately, just in case. 10 days later, Prince Vensa, the envoy from the Rongdi tribes, arrived at court. The Emperor hosted a grand banquet, where music and celebratory songs filled the hall, presenting an atmosphere of prosperity and harmony. It was then that Vensa suddenly looked at me, his gaze full of blatant greed and possessiveness. He pointed directly at me. "Your Majesty, I want him. If you refuse, the peace talks are off." Tristan Elwood tightly gripped my hand and immediately refused. "Shameless rogue. Do you truly think we are afraid of you?" Yet the Emperor interjected. "Imperial Uncle, why are you so angry? We know your affection for Compiler Shen, but if one person can ensure peace between two nations, we must ask Imperial Uncle to endure this painful sacrifice. Esteemed officials, do you agree?" The statement was utterly preposterous. Peace between two nations is never secured by the sacrifice of a single person. Grand Tutor Redgrave's faction naturally voiced their agreement, while the Regent Prince's faction vehemently objected. Tristan Elwood was enraged. "Your Majesty, have you forgotten the years of my guidance?" The Emperor ignored him completely, continuing to sip his wine. Venza, emboldened by the Emperor's support, impatiently strode toward me. Tristan Elwood could endure no more. He drew a sword from a nearby guard and was about to stab Venza. But his body suddenly swayed violently. He had been poisoned. Venza moved faster, his long saber instantly plunging into Tristan Elwood's chest. Blood gushed out. Tristan Elwood slumped forward and fell. I screamed, clutching him tightly, unable to believe what I was seeing. Everyone in the hall was stunned, crying out that the wrongdeed had gone too far. The Imperial guards immediately drew their swords, pointing them at Venza, ready to slice him to pieces. Venza, however, was completely unconcerned. Oh dear, my hand slipped just now. I intended to discuss this with the Regent Prince nicely. After all, he is only a consort, and I didn't particularly want him. But who knew he would try to assassinate me? I was merely defending myself. However, you can kill me, but the people on your border will surely die. My father will avenge me. He then smiled. But we can continue the negotiations. We had agreed on 10,000 head of cattle and horses before. Now, let's increase that to 50,000. And I no longer want this Lord Shen. What does your Majesty think? The terms were incredibly generous. Grand Tutor Redgrave's faction instantly nodded, agreeing it was acceptable. Indeed, the death of Tristan Elwood could buy so many cattle and horses. It was certainly a good deal. The Emperor was visibly tempted, though he still feigned sorrow. A tear even tracked down his face. We believe that what just transpired was a misunderstanding. Alas, Imperial Uncle was so dedicated to the country, yet he died in such a manner. I will honor him as a second father, keep vigil myself, and ensure his spirit rests in peace. He issued the edict without further debate, indifferent to the Regent Prince's righteous objections. I looked at him, my gaze ice cold. So that was his scheme, to use me to enrage Tristan, let Prince Venza finish the deed, and then claim moral high ground. No one would question the Emperor. The common people would only praise him for enduring humiliation and prioritizing the greater good, a wise ruler. But to my clear mind, I knew better. In a performance like this, why would the wrongdeed willingly cooperate if they weren't getting a benefit that was far greater than 50,000 head of livestock? Just as the Emperor and Prince Venza were raising their cups to celebrate the success of the peace talks, Grand Tutor Redgrave suddenly strode toward the main throne. The Emperor blinked in surprise, only for Venza to kick him to the ground. The ministers were confused at first, but soon, one by one, they grew dizzy and collapsed over their tables. They had all been poisoned. Even the Emperor began foaming at the mouth. Only then did he understand. Pointing a trembling finger at Grand Tutor Redgrave, he gasped, "It's you! You poisoned me! You were in league with them all along!" Grand Tutor Redgrave sat himself down on the dragon throne, his face alight with greed and triumph. "I'll announce to the public that the Empress is pregnant. Then I'll present a child as the new Emperor. As for you, you're far too young. This throne doesn't suit you at all. Did you really think the wrongdeed's sudden attack was a coincidence? It was I who arranged it with their king. In exchange for his help putting me on the throne, I promised him 5 cities. Do you think the wrongdeed care about the 10,000 bolts of cloth and grain you offered? It was I who urged you to seek peace, and I who used Prince Venza to kill Tristan Elwood. But you didn't realize this feast was also meant to remove you." Everyone in the hall finally understood, but too late. The guards were already Grand Tutor Redgrave's men. He rose to his feet and shouted, "Lords present here today, if you swear loyalty to me, I will spare your lives. But if you refuse, you'll be executed as rebels. By tomorrow morning, I'll proclaim to the world that the Regent Prince plotted treason and tried to assassinate His Majesty, and that Prince Venza aided me in suppressing the rebellion." I gently laid Tristan Elwood down and burst out laughing. "Redgrave, you really do dream in broad daylight. Do you think an old fox like you could actually become emperor?" His beard trembled with fury. "Oliver Shen, I value your talent. If you pledge yourself to me, I'll make you prime minister." I laughed again. "Why is it everyone wants to offer me high positions? Unfortunately, my ambitions are greater than bowing to anyone. I intend to be the male empress." He froze. What did you say?" A familiar voice rang out. "You deaf, half-blind old fool. My consort said he's going to be my empress." Tristan Elwood rose from the floor and tore off the blood-soaked packet on his chest. Grand Tutor Redgrave and Prince Venza gaped at him in shock. You're not dead," Tristan pointed to his robe. "Sorry to disappoint. I was wearing golden silk armor beneath it, Blades can't pierce it. I simply played along with your little performance." Grand Tutor Redgrave roared, "Guards! Kill him!" But at that moment, thousands of Imperial guards surged in from all sides, their spears encircling Redgrave's men. Terrified, the traitorous guards dropped to their knees and surrendered on the spot. Redgrave's face turned pale. How is this happening?" Tristan Elwood gave a cold smile as he stepped forward. "Did you really think I hadn't guessed your schemes? I've read your letters to the Wrongdi. You are a traitor to the realm. You deserve to die." With that, he raised his sword, and Grand Tutor Redgrave's head rolled from his shoulders. Prince Vensa, horrified, tried to beg for his life, but Tristan's blade had already pierced his chest. The Emperor, poisoned beyond help, still refused to admit his defeat. So in the end, Imperial Uncle wins, but I haven't lost either. Once I'm dead, you won't live long yourself. He closed his eyes forever. I didn't tell him that Tristan Elwood's poison and the insects had already been purged from his body. It was all over. A voice cried out, "Long live the Emperor!" At once, everyone dropped to their knees and shouted in unison, "Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty!" Tristan Elwood took my hand. "Elias, thank heavens you were by my side." After Tristan Elwood ascended the throne, a full month passed, and yet controversy still surrounded me, the male empress. After all, there had never been a precedent for an emperor to take a man as his consort. Most of the ministers advised him repeatedly, for the sake of the royal bloodline, His Majesty should expand the harem. Tristan, irritated by their persistence, reluctantly chose a 4-year-old child from the royal clan and placed him under my care, to be raised as if he were mine. Only then did the court officials finally settle down. Ever since Tristan became emperor, he had grown lazy and carefree. Much of the government's affairs ended up in my hands. That night, as I was busy reviewing memorials, a pair of arms suddenly wrapped tightly around me. The incense burner nearby released a soft curl of fragrant smoke. Tristan leaned against my shoulder, his voice dripping with wounded grievance. "Elias, you haven't kept me company for days. I feel so lonely, so miserable. Won't you comfort me, please?" I was about to refuse when his lips silenced me. It was only after a long while that he whispered in my ear, "Recently I've learned a few new tricks. Let's try them tonight." I was utterly speechless. Heavens above, someone save me! In that instant, regret struck me hard. This young master never wanted to be an empress in the first place. The end.